All right, time for a camping video. So we're getting Edna ready to go here. So I've done my pre-trip checks, checked all the fluids and the tire pressure. We've got everything packed. We've had her plugged in overnight to get the refrigerator cooled down. And we're getting ready to go on about 1,000-mile, maybe 1,200-mile trip altogether. We're starting out in eastern Washington. We're heading north up into Canada, and we'll check out British Columbia and a little bit of Alberta. So we'll stop several places along the way. I don't want to drive more than maybe 2 or 3 hours each day, and then spend some time in a few different campgrounds. Ultimately, we're going to Banff. I guess it's a national park for Canada in Alberta. We'll spend a couple days there. It's supposed to be really hot as we start out, and so I want to get a little bit of an early start today, but thought we would just kind of document our trip along the way and so maybe some of our adventures in Edna over the next week. Driving that many miles in hot weather, it could be a little exciting. All right, well, we've made it to our first campground, and we're at Farragut State Park in northern Idaho, kind of close to Sandpoint. And this is actually a really nice state park. The campsites and everything are all asphalt. The area that we're in the Gilmore campground, which has full hookups, and so we're running the AC, cooling the coach down for bedtime. But there's boating here, Sandpoint, and the lake here is really nice. So the kids and family did some swimming. I walked around a little bit. The campground that we're in, so there are 4 kind of loops in this campground. And the one we're in doesn't have very many trees, so it looks like it's still, maybe kind of being built up. There's lots of fresh trees growing, but some of the other loops have really nice forest around them, lots of shade. And so when we got here, it was a little sunny. The drive today was a hot one, so I think ambient temperature outside probably got up to about 98 degrees. And inside the coach, since our dash air conditioning stopped working last year, I think we topped out at maybe 102 or 105. So it was pretty warm inside. But once we got to the park here, we plugged in, we turned on the air conditioning. The air conditioning's been running for about 3 hours now, and we're down to, I think, 78 degrees inside the coach. So things are looking good for bedtime. But as far as the campground, really nicely maintained, really clean, quiet. There's quite a few people here, but not too noisy, no barking dogs. I think it's probably, is an okay place to stay for a day or two. We're just passing through, and so we're just here one day, but unless you had lots of plans in the area, this might be the kind of place you'd stay just for a night, maybe a couple nights, and you could probably see most of the area. But Edna is running well. We didn't really have any overheating problems on a few of the hills. We saw a little bit of temperature come up, but not bad. So we're feeling pretty good after about, probably 120 miles today. Tomorrow, we'll be going from the Sandpoint area where we are now up to Radium Hot Springs in British Columbia. That's going to be a little bit longer drive, so probably a little over 200 miles, probably be on the road for maybe 4 or 5 hours. So we'll see how that goes, and kind of check out that area a little bit and give another update on the next day. Okay, so this is actually day 3 because we were a little tired by the time we got to our current site. We are in Radium, British Columbia, or Radium Hot Springs, and we went to the hot springs last night and relaxed there for a while. Kind of a cool hot spring area, a very cool canyon that it's in, and some neat history there. So check that out last night. It is very smoky here, so the smoke level is at extreme, so the sun is very red today. But still, the campground is really nice. We're staying at the Canyon RV Resort, and all of the spots are really nice. There's a beautiful creek running through the middle of the campground. We got a place right next to the creek, so definitely would recommend that. That's definitely the place to go if you can reserve early and get a spot next to the creek here. So got to fall asleep listening to creek sounds. Overall, very nice site, nice showers, bathrooms, all of that, well maintained. So have definitely enjoyed the campground, even with the smoke. But today we're going to continue on to Banff. We've been having a little overheating problem in Edna, so the temperature kind of heads up as we go up hills and things. Not to the point where we had to stop, but we've been keeping an eye on that. The temperatures while we've been driving, the first day it was getting up to like 95, 97, but relatively leveled, flat driving, wasn't too bad. Yesterday I think the high temperature was probably low 90s, 92, 93, and we were starting to see a little bit of temperature creep up, especially on hills. Today it's supposed to be cooler, so I think that'll be good. We are all of a sudden last night noticing a kind of loud ticking noise from the front right wheel as we're driving, and it's an odd sound. I don't know what it is. This has the 1-ton front end, so it may be a spacer making a little noise. It doesn't really sound like an axle shaft. But I want to investigate that a little bit today. We're kind of out of civilization, so not many resources or anything in the Radium Hot Springs area, and as we head into the National Forest and Banff, it's going to be even less available part stores or anything like that. So definitely kind of want to make sure that we're not going to have any serious problems, but I think we're going to, just check things out, make sure we don't see anything obviously wrong, and then keep going if we can. All right, so we're here by the side of the road in the middle of British Columbia, about 400 miles from home, and the coach started making a ticking sound coming from the right front when we were turning left, and it just kind of came on pretty quickly, and it got me kind of concerned. So I decided that I would stop by the side of the road. We're in a small town here of Radium Hot Springs. Not maybe the most desirable place, and it's been raining a little bit, so can't always plan exactly when something like this will happen. So I jacked it up, I put some blocks underneath it, and wanted to check out the front wheel here. Now I checked the wheel bearings and everything before we left. Lug nuts are tight, everything's tight, wheel bearing was tight, but now when I grab this, and you probably can't see it or hear it, but I can feel a little bit of clunking play in this wheel. So what I know the lug nuts are tight, but I don't know about the nuts on the spacer behind this, because this has the 1-ton front end. I also don't know about the axle shaft nut. Want to make sure that's torqued properly. The axle shaft and everything looks fine, so I don't think it's a CV joint or anything like that. I've heard those before, and they're a little bit more of a kind of clunking tick rather than the kind of creaking, ticking sound that we're hearing. So I'm going to pull the wheel off, take a look at things, check some torques, and hopefully I find something that's an obvious problem and the sound goes away and we can continue on our trip. So that was actually a little bit loose. Okay, I think we found the problem. So I checked the axle nut and it was maybe a little bit off torque spec, but it was tight. I checked torque on all of these spacer nuts. They're all good. And then I was just looking at other things and I noticed that there was a rub mark on the back of the rotor. And I thought, that's not normal. So then I looked at the caliper and the caliper is loose. So I'm going to check. Oh, actually, we've lost a bottom caliper bolt. So it's totally gone. I've got the top one there, but nothing on the bottom. So we'll need to find a new caliper bolt somewhere and put that together. And then I think my ticking problem will be fixed. All right, so even here in the middle of British Columbia, there's a Napa, just about 12 kilometers down the road, and I got a brake caliper kit that came with new bolts and sleeves. I got a little silicone grease, a little high temperature brake lubricant to put on the bolts as I put things back together, and bolted it back up, torqued those bolts because I recently did some work on the other side of the vehicle. I know they should be torqued to 27, 28 foot-pounds. So did that, put the wheel back on, get it down off the jack and go for a drive. But I think we're gonna be in good shape. All right, well, here we are in Banff, and we've had a great couple of days exploring the park of Banff. We went up to Lake Louise yesterday. We're staying in the Tunnel Mountain Trailer Park, which doesn't sound very exciting, but it's one of the really nice campgrounds here. We had to reserve it basically as soon as reservations opened up. It's got full hookups. All the sites are drive-through, although drive-through isn't that important when we're driving our GMC. But great facilities, nice bathrooms, great location. There's a bus service that takes you into the downtown Banff area, so lots of great shopping and restaurants and entertainment and things. And so we've had lots of fun here. It was really smoky as we were coming in, and then it just cleared up, was beautiful. Yesterday we saw Lake Louise, we saw Lake Moraine. We walked up to the Lake Agnes Tea House, which if you're up for maybe a 5-mile hike round trip, awesome views, great location, very cool to go see that. So have had lots of fun here in Banff. Haven't really seen any wildlife. We'll put in some little clips of videos and things of us cruising down the road and things that we saw. But yeah, just a nice visit, and we've gone about 150 miles since doing the brake repair. And everything seems to be doing well, so I have some confidence that we'll be able to get back home without any other major problems. All right, well, we're at our next campsite, and we finished up in Banff and we headed south. And so we're now in Kimberly, British Columbia. It was, I think, maybe 170 miles. I know it's kilometers up here, but I don't know the difference right offhand. But our GPS said about 170, 180 miles from Banff down to Kimberly. We're staying at the Kimberly Riverside Campground, which is really nice. Decent number of trees and things around the campsites. It's a little bit close in some cases, but the site we have has full hookups, which again we're using for this trip just to get that experience. And they have lots of nice amenities here. So free showers, free Wi-Fi. I mean, I say free, you have to pay, of course, to camp here. So it's all included in your camping price. They have washers and dryers, so you can do laundry if you want to. They have a swimming pool. So the kids are definitely enjoying swimming pool. You can pay to play mini golf. You can rent e-bikes and paddle boards and things like that. So, you know, a fair number of things you could do here. I think it could be worth staying a couple of days. The price for the campground was not that bad, and it's just actually right on a river, so we can hear a little bit of the river running in the background. Something I forgot to mention from our nights in Banff, it got really cold at night. We got down to like 37, 38 degrees the 2 nights that we were there. And the heat strip that we installed in our air conditioning unit did a really good job. It actually kept the interior of the coach at probably about 65 to 70 degrees, kind of depending on, you know, what the temperature was outside and things. We had 3 people in the coach, so a little bit of body heat there, but worked out really nice. I think if we were getting down close to freezing, the heat strip probably couldn't keep up. We'd have to do something else to get a little bit more heat in the coach and make sure that we didn't, you know, worry about any lines freezing or anything. But as far as getting down into the 30s, I was really happy with how the heat strip did. So the motorhome's been driving well, no more mechanical problems. I think we're gonna have a nice peaceful night here in Kimberly and finish up our trip here in just another day. So this is our last night in Canada, and we are in Creston, British Columbia, which is just north of the US-Canadian border. And we found a cool little place here. It's called the Mountain Park Resort, and they've got really nice facilities. So the whole area, it's a little kind of dusty, dirty, but it's all been raked and cleaned, and the spots are very level. They have picnic areas. The bathrooms are great, free showers, laundry. They even have a general store with lots of kind of cool little local things, and then a handful of other, you know, necessities. There were fresh berries, so kind of just an interesting, cool little place. Just looking around, I think they have like 35 spots altogether, so it's not a very big place. But you can see that, you know, a number of these motorhomes and campers and things have been here for a little while. Others are kind of coming and going. So I think it's a place that people like to stay for a little bit. Some good and bad. So good, there's a river just down the hill. We can hear it. It sounds really cool. The kids are going down to check it out. Not so good, the highway is closer, actually, on the other side of us. And so we can see semi-trucks and cars and things driving by. I think, so when we read the reviews, there were some comments about traffic and things like that, but overall it seems not too bad. And I think as the evening goes on, it's probably going to quiet down, and we'll probably have our air conditioner or our heater running or something that'll drown that sound out once we're, you know, getting ready for bed and things. So not too worried about it. I wanted to make a mention of a couple of guys that we met at the last campground in Kimberly, British Columbia. So a little shout out to Al and Brian. Definitely saw Edna and thought it was a pretty cool motorhome. They're kind of conventional campers and had motorhomes, RVs, and had never seen one like Edna in person. Although one of the guys, I think it was Al, had just seen one listed for sale that he thought was really interesting, and then what do you know, next thing he sees us pulling in with ours, and they wanted to come over and chat a little bit. So we gave him a tour, talked about the history of the GMC Motorhome, and it was pretty fun. So they did give us a fortune cookie or two and said that we should open one up in the video. So let's check out what our fortune is. All right, so this fortune is in French. So these are apparently Canadian. It says, your innovative nature will help you come up with a solution. Well, it sounds like the perfect fortune for driving a GMC motorhome that's 45 to 50 years old, you know, for hundreds or thousands of miles. So here's the fortune.